No.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call of Alderman.
Alderman Heisler. Alderman Kinsella. Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt. Alderman Rudgewitz. Alderman Randall. Alderman Anthony. Alderman Davidson. Alderman Silsby. Alderman Hayden. Alderman Seibert. Alderman White. Alderman Galletti. Alderman Musgrove. Alderman Orlett. Alderman Schneider.
Here.
Okay, I received calls from that they wouldn't be here tonight. Mike Heisler, Kent Randall, Janet Schmidt, and Joe Arlett. So we will duly note that. At this time, roll call of department heads.
Police Chief Clay. Fire Chief Poor. City Attorney Horner.
He's on his way.
Ken Vaughn. Royce Carlisle. Jamie Matrit. Tim Gregowitz. Jim Schneider. Leander Spearman. Chuck Schaefer. Bob Sabo. Debbie Belleville. City Treasurer Hart.
Here. Mike Parks is here for Chuck Schaefer. And like I said, Garrett had just texted me, and he should be here any minute, coming from another meeting. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go over the emergency plan. This afternoon, we had a bit of an emergency outside. Truck hit wires, knocked down a pole, or leaned the pole, snapped wires, knocked down traffic lights. And they're doing their best. The power company believes they won't have to turn the power off this evening while they change it. But if the lights flicker or if the lights would go out, we have a number of the policemen have flashlights. We will help you. First of all, I don't know how much of the out, whatever. We'll do our best to get you out safely, but just stay calm. If there'd be some other kind of emergency, we will do the same thing. We'll calmly go out. Be careful at that intersection. Normally, if there's a fire situation, smoke or fire, anything like that, where we evacuate the building, we meet over at the county courthouse sign. And if there's something for severe weather, which is not forecasted tonight, but if we ever had to and you were here, we do have a storm area in the basement here. The steps are right across from the clerk's office, right out this way. And once again, the police officers would gladly guide you. So that's the emergency plan. This evening, I'm going to open public participation in just a moment. If you do raise your hand and I call on you, step up to the microphone, give your name and address. Try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes and try to keep it preferably on topics that are on tonight's agenda or certainly city business. So with that said, I will ask if anyone this evening wishes to address the city council. Yes, sir.
Michael Hagberg, 701 Centerville Avenue. A couple items on tonight's agenda have to do with the Shrine property. And we were told in November, trust me, you'll have details in a couple of weeks. And then we were told in December, trust me, you'll have details in a couple of weeks. And it just seems like this thing's moving along, and there's no details given to the public other than just trust me, it's going to be a good deal. And I'd like to know if the public is ever going to find out what this deal is before the TIF is created. The enterprise zone is already done. The special business district's up there. We're throwing everything we can throw at these people, but we have no idea who they are, whether they're reputable or not. I remind you that the county gave $250,000 to a developer, only to find out, had they had time to research it, they would have found out that developer was in crap loads of trouble with the IRS, and it never should have gone through. The public needs to know who this is, what they are, and what their backing is before we start giving away the farm. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else this evening? Hearing none, I will close public participation. At this time, it brings me great pleasure to take a couple moments and certainly thank yous. When I think about what so many people did to make 2014 a success, a mere thank you doesn't seem like much. But we'd be very remiss if we didn't attempt to, gentlemen, could you step outside, please, if we're going to talk here, okay? Could you, Mr. Hegberg, would you two go outside and conduct business, please? Awful lot of people took on a lot of responsibility and did a tremendous amount of outstanding things for the city. This past year was an unbelievable one event after another. So what I'd like to do first this evening is I'd like to, and I'm sure there's always, we run the risk when you start identifying, but this group here I'm going to call up is the executive committee of the 200th. And folks, these folks, and there were a lot of people who really did some great service, and we kind of kept this group to it wasn't a real big group, but I will tell you, they met basically weekly for 2 years. And the success of the 200th chain of events, whether it was the fireworks, the gala, the parade, and then the big weekend celebration in September, it didn't happen by accident. There was a lot of planning and a lot of hands. And I will tell you, as your mayor, I am extremely proud of you and extremely thankful for what each of you went above and beyond. So at this time, we have some small tokens of our appreciation. I would like to ask the people from the 200th committee, would you please, who are here this night, please come up across the front. I think you know who you are, Rich. We got Ron and Bob and Brian and Debbie and Sharon, and we got Jenny Meyer here. There's a host of you. Come on up, cut across here. Anybody else from the committee? From the 200. Well, let me go down the list. Becca, you're here? Okay, let me hand these, then I'll say a few words as I present them. And Ron, I just realized, I think yours is still upstairs, but we can give you Bob's for now. And you can make sure he gets it and you'll get yours. Turn around here, let me get, Kathleen's here. We're missing a bunch, but there's never a good night. Sharon, is Dorothy Young here in the audience? Donna Young, I said Dorothy. Donna here? Just turn around, you guys. Let me borrow yours just a second. The certificate that these folks send, I'll quickly go down to the ones who are serving on this committee, are receiving, is a certificate that has the 200th logo embossed in the back of it, and it says certificate of appreciation presented to, this one here is Becca Boyer, for your community spirit, devoted service, and generous donation of your personal time. The hard work and long hours you enthusiastically gave while serving on the Belleville 200th committee, the executive committee, greatly contributed to the year-long success of Belleville's 200th anniversary. The city of Belleville thanks you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a small token of our appreciation, but this was, and Bob Fritz, who couldn't be here this evening, Bob and Lois Stroll were the only two members who really served on, well, you Debbie did, 175th, and Ron served on the 175th, so there were several. But as Bob Fritz told me repeatedly, he said, Mark, he said, I've been on a lot of committees in my life. He said, this was the best committee I've ever served on. And he repeated that to me countlessly. The commitment of this group to make these events all happen was just unbelievable. So, sincere thank you, and I ask everybody to join me in a warm round of applause. Lindenwood was the premier Lindenwood's part in all of this and their jump-starting all this was just tremendous, so we thank you. Kathleen's got something real quick while we're still on the 200th.
Thank you, Mayor. We have something special to present to the mayor this evening for the bicentennial celebration history. And Sharon Goff has been a Belleville volunteer with more than 25 years of service to the city of Belleville through Belleville Tourism. And during the year of our bicentennial, Sharon has volunteered more than 500 hours of service in just that 1 year, last year. Sharon has documented, thankfully, on the city's behalf and our Belleville Tourism behalf, the Belleville 200 with albums telling the history of our Belleville bicentennial year. So we have over 250 pages that we documented just within 1 year for the Belleville 200. And we want for Sharon to come up to present those to the mayor. You're very, very welcome. Sharon, could you turn around as well with one of those as well? And Sharon, we'd like to present this to you for your dedication and support for Belleville Tourism and to the city of Belleville.
These are fabulous, and we'll have them on display here at City Hall for a while. We're eventually going to get them over to the library, and we feel like that's a good, safe place that they have staff to. But these are a wonderful history of the last year's activities, and there's a lot of photos and a lot of news clippings and flyers and everything in here. And it's a great, Sharon. Thank you. This is not easy, and I appreciate this on behalf of the city. Thank you. We now go to the, I will dismiss this group. Carol Pointowski, will you come forward? The last function of this year's 200th, and was one that we didn't actually get approved and really move forward with officially until the first part of July. And we were late getting started. And there was a lot of crunch time in this. Carol Pointowski and I have talked for probably 5 years at Bell Scott meetings. Their husband, Colonel, when we were all in Bell Scott together, and we'd sit there, and my wife, Rita, and we would talk about how we need to do a German Christmas market. And they had lived in Germany 7 years during their tour in the Air Force. And our oldest daughter had been to Germany now, I think, 9 times with her studying and her Fulbright and sister cities. And she had the experience like Carol and Kurt to visit these various German Christmas markets throughout Germany and Europe. She was all revved up. So when Kate was bugging us, saying we needed to do it, and Carol was telling me, Carol said, look, there's going to come a time when I'll have the time to do it. She was taking care of her mother for quite a while, and that just didn't work. And unfortunately, her mother passed a year ago or more, and Carol came to me and said, I think we can still do this year. Are you willing? And this is, again, shows the spirit of Belleville volunteers. And let me go back. We have the feet on the ground volunteers, which are so important. And then we have the businesses who have stepped up and sponsored, and just like the bicentennial, put up money, put up product, put up in kind to make all these things happen. Well, this German Christmas market, if you remember, it was a little bit interesting at first getting it going because some people just didn't know. And the unknown is always a little difficult. But I think any of you who got a chance to come downtown this Christmas season saw an unbelievable amount of foot traffic, an unbelievable amount of spirit and excitement and enthusiasm, and just so much we can build on. So Carol, the first recognition this evening goes to you for your devoted service and leadership as the director of the 2014 Belleville Christkindl Mart. Your spirited vision and hard work were vital to its overwhelming success. The city of Belleville thanks you, and it's off to a great start, and we look forward to repeating it. We're already working and planning. So I thank you. If you want to stand up for me. Donna Young. When it comes to the 200th, as you know, for about 18 months, oh, I'm gonna do that. Thanks, Debbie. When it comes to the 200th, we had a store for about 18 months, down at 227 East Main, correct? And took a lot of volunteers, a lot of PSOP volunteers and other folks. But Donna Young served as the lead volunteer or manager of the store. She's not here tonight, but if you know Donna, please tell her thank you also. She put in an extraordinary amount of time coordinating all the people to be in there and run that store. And that's a small business operation that maybe she can put on her resume. Not that she's looking to add to her resume at this part of her life, I don't think, but she certainly could. So at this point, Carol and I want to help talk about the sponsors, and we'll start with this stack right here, Carol. So if you want to, let me set this down for you a second, and you can, we'll call them up. We got, and you just come up and slide across the front here also. Home Depot. Okay, come on over here. We'll go in, we'll get them all out to you here in just a second. Maybe you can help hand them to them out. Highland Construction. I can't emphasize enough. Impact Strategies. I don't know if anyone's here or not. Belleville News Democrat. The Belleville 200th Committee. One of you come up. Wow. Kaskaskia Engineering. Now I know why she didn't come. Yeah. Her brother delegated her to go. Bank of Belleville.
Came from there.
Robert Schick Fritz. Art in the Square. Anybody here from that committee? No. The Greater Belleville Chamber. Anybody here from the chamber?
I think me too.
That's an active lady. Downtown redevelopment. Mr. Chairman, come on up here. Belleville Main Street. Here we got the executive director, Carol Coons. Jarvis Electric. I saw the two brothers. Come on up, both of you. The National Shrine of Our Lady of the Snows. Come on up. And Linwood University. Stand up here, please. These were the list of sponsors that contributed in so many ways. This was no cheap investment. We've got buildings, we got real estate we built this year we're hanging on to, and we've got more to try to do next year, and we're working on that, figuring that process out now. But I want to tell you, first of all, we admitted we started late, and it was not easy about, there's so many aspects of this, but I want to tell you, business owners and people here, the city couldn't have pulled this off, and this may turn out to be in the next few years one of our neatest events, much like Art in the Square. There's no doubt it's going to grow. It brought people to Belleville that had never been here. It brought people back to Belleville that hadn't been here in years. And I just want to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I had more fun coming down here those 3 or 4 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, just seeing the hustle and bustle, and the stores were filled, and they did well. Father Tom also filled in our opening ceremony as, I think we have something for these two guys here too. Carol, I'm looking here. I'm looking for, here it is, here. Is that our young lady? She's here too. Vanessa, bring her up. Vanessa, come on up here. Is that Father Tom's? Yes. He gets another one. Vanessa. Vanessa Pendergrass is a student at O'Fallon, but she got involved, and Dean Sherman, very good. You should have heard her presentation that day. It was fabulous. And she was our Chris Kindle. And she played the part at the opening ceremony, and Father Tom was St. Nick. And I will tell you, has a fabulous costume outfit. And I want to thank the two of you because this can present them. Also, each of you will receive one of these 200, we'll pass them down here, medals if you just start passing. From the 200, these were given to a couple of our events for outstanding service. And we're getting close. We appreciate it greatly for what you all have contributed and what you made happen this year, because it was a very special year, 2014. And let's see, we're close. You guys have enough? You want to start one? Okay, very good. Okay, let's give this group a big round of applause. Okay, we have just a couple others there with me. We're getting real close. There'll be a couple people that we will recognize the first meeting of February because they couldn't be here tonight, and that was our friends from the local carpenters union, the business agents, and my son Luke, and there was a number of people we said thank yous to, but there's about 4 of those people who spent literally hundreds of hours in cases of building. But tonight I got 4 additional people I'm going to ask to come up. I'd like to ask Mr. Leo Voss to come forward. I'd like to ask Ken Bossler, Stan Erlinger, and Jeff Hydar. These 4 individuals saved our bacon. We had a lot of people in the room as I look around jumped in here and did a lot of work. But Mr. Voss, with his talent from the Voss pattern, fabricated some parts we needed for the windows. And then, are we missing Jess? Oh, Mike Reineke. Is Mike here? Okay, come on up, Mike. I messed up here. Okay, I might have. No, they're probably upstairs. It was such a crazy day. Once that pole got hit, we kind of lost the afternoon here. I get your. But Mike is the roofer, works for Shea Roofing. But these people, I don't even know how some of them, different people recruited. And I'm not even sure how they all came. People just showed up. They showed up in my office. They showed up on the work site and said, hey, we heard about this. We want to donate or we want to help. Carol got the certificate, but her husband Kurt and her son, they were there. I mean, it was a family. Sharon Strasbaugh had volunteers from her church. We had volunteers from Scott Air Force Base on several occasions, painting. Folks, it was unbelievable. We built 16 buildings. Ken was the project manager down there, and he happened to have some time, a few weeks there, had some free time at that point that he lived down there. And I say down there in our sanitation building where we had room to build these things. He coordinated and recruited the Jarvis brothers who did electrical work, and they wired these buildings. And folks, Holland set out, not only did they donate, he sent 4 carpenters once or twice for a couple of long evenings. And like his son said, when you get carpenters that know what they're doing, man, did we make hay. And it was the same thing. I know Impact had sent a person or 2. There were several places. And then we got back to, in the final running, Mr. Voss was down there, and he was up to his ears in these, helping us get this stuff done, from painting to making parts to fixing window hinges. These 2 guys here, these 3, and my son Luke, they were down to the wire doing everything we needed to make this project. Stan Erlinger, who's a carpenter, both of these guys, Jeff Hydar, they're both union carpenters. They both happen to work for the city these days. But they came down on their own time, after work, evenings, weekends, Sundays, and we worked. With Kenny, he organized things, and it's the darndest thing you've ever seen. It just made you smile to see that many people come together. Nobody was getting anything out of it other than it was for our city. And I just can't tell you enough. That young man on the end down there, he he shingled those things. Kurt helped him, but I'll tell you what, he was shingling roofs like nobody's business, and I mean, I'm just telling you, there's no way my knees or back could take that anymore. They were doing stuff that was amazing, and I owe a couple of you some certificates, and I apologize, we will have those to you. But I just want to say to all of you here, we couldn't have done it without you. I'm sure we're missing a few people who, well, hopefully everybody got a letter, but there might still be a few more to sign on my desk. There were so many people, but I just say from the bottom of our heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was a great success. It was a monumental task, and it couldn't have been better. So thank you so much. Okay, she snuck in. Before I sit down, I got one more to come up here, Carol Bartle. Teacher for being late, now you're in the spotlight. This lady was a part of the executive committee. I think most of them would say she kind of ran the executive committee. But there was a lot of people there on top of the game. But I will tell you this. Carol Bartle was the person who really took the lead in raising the money. And getting the Beach Boys and getting the entertainment we had and the fireworks. I don't even know what the total was, but we were both dollars and in kind. People would be blown away if they realized how much we had total donations to this project this year because of bicentennial year. It was unbelievable. But I will tell you, when you want to take on a job that seems like it's impossible, you go out and you find the best, and that was my job, to find the best volunteers out there. And that's like I said, Bob Fritz kept telling me, he says, I don't know where the hell you found these people. I didn't know half of them, I didn't know them well, but he said, it's the damnedest group I've ever met. He said, we just work, they tell you what they think. If they have a disagreement, they get it out in the open and they go on. But he said, I'm telling you, he said, it was unbelievable. Carol, you were a very integral part.
I did not do this by myself.
I know that, nobody did. I was at most of the meetings, and like I said, I didn't sign myself a certificate because that wasn't the point. The point of it is, it was a pleasure working with each and every one of you. And it was when Penny Gregory, and I say it to her all the time, she has the committee from heaven, which you're on, for Arden Square. We had a duplicate of that committee for this past 2 years, and it was unbelievable, and I thank you.
Thank you.
The other people over here who were on the executive committee, I think I mentioned Lois Stroh, Wendy File, Jennifer Game, Jennifer Meyer, a big part of that, Jody Lau, Teresa Hessel, and Dan Hyder. Those people all couldn't be here this evening, but also gave a tremendous amount of time and talent to that executive committee, and we thank them as well. Okay, that was long, but it was very important. I appreciate your patience, and for those of you who came in for this tonight, again, I thank you very much. We will now move on to the regular part of the business. So those of you who I told could sneak out, now's your time to sneak. Okay, the approval of the minutes from January 5th. I'd like to ask for a motion. Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Meyer. Do I hear any discussion? Additions or corrections? All in favor of accepting and filing the minutes from January 5th regular city council meeting minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, and disbursements, what's your pleasure? Don't all jump in at once. Go ahead, Johnny.
Motion in order to file the claims and payroll disbursements.
Pay them and file. Second by Alderman Schneider. We have a motion to pay the claims, payroll, and disbursements, and a second. Any discussion on that? Roll call.
Kinsella. Meyer.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Oral reports, we have a housing report of cash receipts for fiscal year 2014 to 15 through December 2014. What's your pleasure?
Motion received, file.
Motion to receive and file by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have oral reports. Alderman Schneider. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Seibert. You're the senior alderman, I recognize that. Your turn.
11A1, we postponed that in committee, Your Honor.
Let's have a motion to postpone then.
Yes, we did.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman, motion was made by Alderman Seibert to postpone and to second by Alderman Hayden. Any discussion on that recommendation? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next one?
Second one is a motion to approve municipal estimate of maintenance for 2015-2016 motor fuel tax. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Hayden. Alderman Schneider, you have a question?
No,
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Kinsella. Meyer.
Aye.
Schmidt. Anthony. Davidson. Ridgewitz. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Communications.
12A, request from the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to host their 32nd annual chili cook-off event on the square on Friday, October 2nd and Saturday, October 3rd, 2015. They asked for the public square to be closed down at 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 1st, 2015, and reopened at midnight on Saturday, October 3rd, 2015.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion? All in favor of that request signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 14A, resolution number
Okay, hold it.
3210.
Okay, I'm sorry,
He didn't read the rest of it.
do we got, you want to do the rest of it on the other page there?
You
Dallas?
passed it, it's on there, I think we're good. Unless you'd like me to, I would.
Let's read this last two paragraphs, because this
Sure.
is about their requesting far as their run, isn't it?
Gotcha.
Okay.
They also requested that we may use the first 3 blocks of East Main Street to include street closings from Washington to 8th Street of Jackson and the first block of West Main Street. We would also request a police officer to be at the intersection of High Street for pedestrian traffic during the entire event. In addition, they request the use of the banner poles on West and East Main Street to hang chili cook-off banners to promote the event beginning on August 15, 2015.
That was part of the motion.
Okay, you accept that as part of the motion?
That was part of the motion. Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Seibert, you do too?
Yes.
Let's just have all in favor to accept that and recognize that that was all part of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're good. There's no petitions this evening. I'd ask for a motion to read by title only, Resolution 3210.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Meyer. Any discussion on reading by title only? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
14A, resolution number 3210, inducement resolution.
Do I hear a motion, first of all, to put this on the floor, and then we'll explain if we need any explanation?
Motion to approve Resolution 3210.
Second by motion was by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Meyer. Any discussion on this, or do you want to hear, I don't know, is there a need, any explanation necessary? Mr. Narber's here if we need something. Alderman Hayden.
Yes, Your Honor, I got some questions. First, does it take a simple majority or 2/3 majority for this resolution? Simple majority. Second question is, has discussion of creating a TIF in a business district, has that gone before the Finance and Economic Development Committee?
No, it will.
Then I guess the question then after that would be, why do we have to create these accounts now?
Mr. Narber, can I just ask you for some brief explanation, as we've done this before, but maybe step to the microphone if you don't mind, Gene, just so we get it on tape.
Specifically with the inducement resolution. Inducement resolution recognizes that the city may in fact create a TIF, may in fact create a business district. And this is, among other things, an opportunity for the city to recognize its own costs prior to the establishment of either a TIF or a business district, and ultimately to pay itself back for money expended in the creation of the business district and the TIF.
Okay.
Okay, that leads to the next question then, Your Honor. What costs and expenses are we looking at, and what account are those going to come from?
Well, I think, first of all, the sewer is one of the things that will be explained further, but we are planning to put in a sewer, and wastewater is doing some preliminary investigation right now with the intent to bring a contract to Master Sewer in the very near future. They would, for example, plan out of their sewer construction to pay for that sewer, but with this, in the future, we could pay ourselves back, correct, Mr. Narber, for some of those sewer costs out of the TIF?
We could, and the city could pay itself back for any other expenses incurred prior to the adoption of the ordinances creating the TIF and the business district.
And go ahead.
I would, administrative, soft costs, consultant fees, and the like.
Okay. And this is the same that we have had to do the same practice, and it's the same thing that has been present in the setting up of other TIFs that we have set up. Alderman Schneider?
Are we gonna do a roll call vote on this, or is it just?
No, it'll be a roll call vote. It's a resolution. Okay. Mr. White?
Yeah, just in the interest of transparency and so on, have we come up with any costs yet? I know we're very early in this process and really only establishing the accounts themselves.
The only costs that have begun so far is we've had some preliminary engineering estimations from on the sewer, just a little bit, and we have some costs for Mr. Narber. But as you know, and as was explained by Eric in previous meetings, with the way it's set up, I believe with the enterprise zone itself, Eric, of the total cost of $70,000 to set up, was that everything we had? The business district, the TIF, and the enterprise zone? 50,000 of that will be paid by the developer. So we will be responsible for 20,000 of that, and we will be eligible to pay ourselves back once the TIF is established. Okay?
Thank you.
So that's an example of the cost that we've occurred, or we are slowly occurring now. Yes, sir.
But basically, Your Honor, if we're establishing through this inducement resolution, which will then support the ordinances to follow 7840, 7841, 7842, then it seems to me that we're committing ourselves to establishing a TIF there and creating a business district when we've yet to do so.
I think it was very clear, and I think the meeting that you had with the developer, that and I think in the annexation agreement, Mr. Narb or Mr. Garrett, it states that it's our intent.
Yeah, the inducement resolution likewise expressly states that it's no guarantee that the city council will adopt or approve a proposed TIF area or business district.
But it's in the annexation agreement that it is
As well.
the intent to establish those.
So far, you know, and the public that has contacted me, their concern is, again, what they feel is somewhat of a, you know, cloak and dagger perspective of not knowing, you know, who these people are, what exactly is going to go there. We've been told that it's going to be you know, I've heard various different terms, but high-scale hotel. We've been told it's going to be a unique high-scale restaurant. What and where, maybe this is perhaps a legal question for the city attorney, do we have to ensure that that's what happens? Because once we establish these accounts, Your Honor, then we establish these TIFs, and we establish this business district. We are raising the value of the property and the leasing value of the property, but yet where is our guarantee that you know, instead of a high-end hotel that the public's been promised, we don't end up with a Motel 9, and instead of a high-end restaurant, we end up with a McHardy?
First of all, I think you did meet with the developer, and you were face to face across the table, and they
I never
answered.
did get a name from them specifically what they were, though.
Okay,
So I don't even know that.
now, hold on, but my point is this. Before this council would approve a development agreement, the details will be spelled out. Now, if you remember correctly, what we said here the last meeting, the first part of the exercise was we had to go out for RFPs for other possible developments, right, Mr. Narber? Yes. And we've done that, and that's coming up due on the 27th? 27th or 28th. So that's the first step, as you're well familiar with being in government. So that's going on right now. And so that was the first step. We had to advertise if there was any other developer out there that wanted to make a proposal to the Shrine on that property. Now, that'll be closed in about a week. And then the next step is we will then bring forward a development agreement. In the development agreement, it will spell out very clearly the developer, the titles of the places that they already have locked in. It'll spell out responsibilities of the developer, the Shrine, and the city. Right, Mr. Narber?
Yes, sir.
And so that is all forthcoming, and I would anticipate, because the developer is very anxious to get started and break ground, they're going to be, as soon as this time period is up on the 28th, and providing we don't have anybody else jumping in to discuss with the Shrine that they would stop the proceedings, we should be coming with a development agreement, I would say, very, very quickly. But because we had to exercise that state statute recognized period of 30 days or whatever it was, that's what's going on right now. So we will be bringing the development agreement here in a real very short period of time, because I can assure you the Shrine, and there's two people here from the Shrine tonight, and the developer who's not present tonight, I can assure you that they are very anxious to bring this development agreement to first Economic Development Committee and then to the City Council, or Finance in between there as well. Alderman Schneider?
Yes, us aldermen don't even.
Use the microphone, please.
Us aldermen don't even know who the developer is, and that's just like giving the mayor and whoever an open document signed from us, say, here, go do whatever you want. TIFs do raise sales tax. When we start giving out money, which we have done, it shows it on the receipts, as I have here. We've already gave out so much, like I said. Our sales tax is so high. And as it was stated during public participation, what if this falls through, just like the county had theirs? I'm just using that as an example. When they gave money out to this developer that was gonna come due, it never happened. Then we've got this TIF created. We don't need any more TIFs. And it's just spending the taxpayers' money, giving away money that we don't even know who. It's just like, let's say a taxpayer's gonna buy a home. Yeah, you can go buy a home, but you don't get to know where you're gonna live. We're gonna tell you. This is exactly what we're doing with the taxpayers' money. We're taking it and spending it, and they don't know where it's going. It was promised that we would know soon. We would know soon. Us aldermen don't even know, and we're the ones that's supposed to know. How can we rightfully, consciously vote on this, say yes, when we don't even know what we're voting on?
Okay, first of all, Alderman Schneider, we had a meeting. You could have met the developer.
But the developer did not say who and what it was.
He introduced himself and he explained in pretty great detail. I see a lot of heads nodding what was going on.
But he didn't say what's going to be coming.
You did have a chance to come meet the developer and you didn't make it.
Were you told who's coming when you, no.
Now,
Were the rest of the aldermen there? Were they told
I think
who's
everyone
coming?
was there but you. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, that knowing the name of the company or corporation, once you're told, you can make a decision. That's the next step. We're not establishing a TIF tonight. These steps we're taking tonight are just preliminary steps.
But
so that
once
if we do pass a TIF later on, if we do come to an agreement, that we are prepared and things may move along smoothly. If we decide as a council not to approve it, this stuff doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing I'd like to mention is that as people on a council or a board, whenever you have someone negotiating for you, and this is a negotiation between the developer and the city, and they're talking back and forth, very similar to, we always think of negotiations as being with unions, but this is a negotiation. When we as council members have a negotiation going on, we have to trust the people who are negotiating on our side. Trust. And they will come to us with a proposal that they think we can buy. Now, if we can't buy into it, then we vote no. But at this time, we don't know the name of the developer, and honestly, we don't need to know the name of the developer. If I told you a name, I could make one up. I don't know the name of the developer, okay? That's not necessary at this point. It will be necessary before we make our vote to approve the development agreement. The reason the developer is not mentioned in public is it was agreed that that developer would have the chance to make his own announcements. And that's common when you have negotiations. So after we get all the negotiations finished and we come up with an agreement, that's the time to say yay or nay, not right now.
And let me answer one thing that you said, Alderman Schneider, that just to clarify. The property that we just annexed, the 406 acres, there's 177 of them that are on the north side of Route 15. And a part of that is in this first proposed phase of development. That property has not been taxed probably for the last 60 years. So there's been no property tax acquired by anyone. So it's been in the oblate's name as a non-for-profit. When they, hypothetically, this development is built and you put millions of dollars worth of buildings on it, the property tax then will be quite hefty. And when they pay their tax, what they're asking for in this development negotiations that we're just starting is that we would rebate them a portion of that tax that no one's getting these days. Mr. Narber, am I on target?
Yes, sir.
And so it's not like we're giving away. No one else. This is a TIF that is, it's a self-standing TIF, a freestanding TIF. It's not depending on any other TIF money or any other to get started other than what we explained, maybe a few dollars for soft costs for consultants. Other than that, nobody's going to get the business district tax unless people shop there. Nobody gets the TIF money unless they pay their taxes and request their rebate. And nobody gets the enterprise zone abatement on sales tax unless they start the construction with the contractor and start trying to get the certificate to approve the rebate on, or the abatement on sales tax. There's no city money going to go into this project unless we would approve it. And I anticipate, other than what we told you thus far, the sewer and the consultants, which are eligible reimbursable, I don't anticipate any. So just to make it clear, so that this project doesn't get a black eye before it gets out of the gate, this project is got tremendous, and it's also, as I told you, and we told you in those meetings, there is the potential for substantial sales tax to come to the city from this project. Alderman Schneider, I'll give you another turn, but.
Well, you mean I can only speak one time?
Well, you remember the parliamentary procedure. You remember that night.
Parliamentary procedures, you're not supposed to talk a whole lot either.
Well, you asking questions and you're saying things that aren't true, and they have to be clarified.
I'm saying the truth. And, you don't want us to know who it is, but these business people wants the taxpayers' money. I sure ain't gonna give them my money unless I know what's going on. And it's gonna be always said, oh, we gotta go through with this. It'll be brought up, we're on the last minute, we have to vote this, we started it. No, it doesn't need to be started now. And as I've been preaching, our Target has the highest sales tax around. Ours is 9.1. Shiloh is 7.35. Fairview is 8.35. And it was stated by the finance director, well, Granite City has the highest. Who in the world is gonna go to Granite City and shop? They're not. They go to their closest stores right now. I've got the floor. And Walmart, O'Fallon, is 9.1, no, that's us, 9.1. It's getting hard to read, is 8.5 at O'Fallon. We have the highest sales tax around. Here we're creating another TIF. We should be looking at ways to give the taxpayers breaks and money instead of doling it out to these big corporations. It's not right.
Okay.
And I would like to make a motion to deny this.
There's a motion on the floor right now to approve this, right?
No, there was no motion
Okay,
made.
okay.
Yes, there is.
We have a motion right now.
We have a motion by
There's a motion.
We have a motion by
Silsby,
Alderman
seconded by
Silsby, and
Meyer,
seconded by
and
Alderman
we have
Meyer.
discussion.
Alderman Hayden?
Yes, I'll speak,
She-
unless
she's-
there's other people.
Is
that-
there, okay, first of all, you're making a motion to,
No,
the motion was made, we have to vote. There's no amendment to the motion, we got a motion right now on the floor. Alderman Hayden, discussion.
Yeah. Is there anybody on this council that has not spoken yet that wants to speak? You know, the rule is that I understood that you're allowed to speak a second time up to your 10-minute limit.
That's correct.
Unless others don't, you know, but the people that haven't spoke yet first get that opportunity. So I wanted to qualify that so I'm not out of turn. Again, though, my concern, Your Honor, is I understand what this is establishing, but to me, we're putting the cart before the horse. We're creating an account for something that doesn't exist, and until it exists, and this council makes a commitment, if we're supporting, the council has supported the annexation. The council, and I believe that was unanimous.
It was unanimous.
The council supported the enterprise zone. Now, the question of the business district with the 1% additional tax that can also, from my understanding, be placed on the hotel motel tax and the TIF in itself is a whole another animal that we haven't even got into discussion of potential additional need of police and fire and covering those services and how it's going to tax those services that have to address being out there. We haven't got into the debate of we have I believe it's TIF 19 at Belleville Crossing. It's not built out, and are we going to be providing business incentives and tax sales tax and a TIF that could compete with an existing TIF? These are things that should be discussed in more detail in the Economic Development Committee and the Finance Committee, and flush those concerns out before we start creating accounts for something that doesn't exist.
Okay, and I think as it was explained by Mr. Narber, and I think Mr. Harner certainly agrees, what we're presenting here tonight is no different than what we did when we established other TIFs. We're following the statute, correct, Mr. Narber?
You're telling me in order to create a TIF, we have to do this tonight?
Mr. Mayor, what we're doing is we're taking the steps that the city has taken in every other, we'll call it single-purpose TIF areas and business district. There is, in all likelihood, to be one project in the TIF and one project in the business district. And in that way, this is very similar to the Target project, the Walmart project, and the Eckerts project, where there were single-purpose TIFs and business districts. This is the format that the city has followed historically to establish these accounts. And as Attorney Horner read in the resolution, this isn't a promise to create a TIF. It isn't a promise to create a business district. It isn't a promise to use these revenues should the city decide to move forward in any manner. It simply sets up the account so that the city is in a position to repay itself by sending monies through these accounts on the expenses that the city incurs, and potentially if developers incur them. And this is the way the city's done it in order to, in order to create this mechanism for its own expenses. And this has been successful, I think, for the city. The same goes with the other actions that the city will take. These are a set of actions that the city has addressed and has used its resolutions and ordinances to create the various accounts, to create the register, and to do other things prior to the actual plan and prior to the actual negotiation of a redevelopment agreement.
Okay, and the only other thing I want to add is there was some speculation here raised about this developer, and I will tell you, I'm not putting them on the spot, but we've been working on this for over a year, and the Shrine of Our Lady of the Snows and the Oblates, I can tell you, we're extremely particular about choosing and working with this developer. They have a lot at stake here, and they have a 60-year history at that site plus, and they didn't take this lightly, and it was no easy task working with the Oblates. Well, working with them locally, it was a great task. Working with the corporation and the fathers in Washington, D.C. from a distance was a challenge. And they had oodles of questions about the developer and the project, and believe me, I can tell you, this is not being taken lightly, but I also can tell you, what we're proposing tonight, Mr. Hayden, is the same steps we have proposed in recent years, establishing these other TIFs that Mr. Narber mentioned.
That was not my question is, does it have?
Yes, this is just following the statute. We have to do it this way if we want to be in a position to pay ourselves back and to be properly lined up and do things according to the statute.
Could never be established later once the TIF is in effect.
Well, this is the timing that we have done in the past, and this is what has been legal, and this is what the attorney and the consultant are recommending. They deal with it every day, and they have been the professionals that have guided us, and we're on a timetable trying to be as expeditious as possible for the developer and the Shrine so that they can get everything explained and hopefully break ground not too far down the road. Alderman Galetti.
I just wanted to make clear here that the TIF is not being created because it benefits the city, and this is standard operating procedure for the city. The TIF is being created because the developer requires it and says that the development will not take place unless a TIF is created.
And the developer told all of us that when he met with all of us that
the way this man has framed the argument, and I'm not blaming him for anything, but it makes it sound as though that this TIF is being created for the benefit of the city to recoup costs, when in fact it's being created to recoup the developer to recoup its investment.
a sidebar to that is us being able to recoup our costs too, but our costs are nothing like the developers.
Right.
And the developer made it very clear when he met with staff countless times, and when he's met with some of you individually, he made it very clear that without the TIF and the business district, this project does not move forward. And getting back to one of the other questions that was stated here about the, you mentioned about the target area and that, I'll be quite honestly, staff and myself have felt very strongly that this project on Route 15 has a great opportunity to help us jumpstart that whole, rekindle that whole area out there, since the recession has been very hard on development all over. But I think this has really got an opportunity to help us jumpstart development up and down 15. It really does. So we feel very strong about that. Any other questions on the motion? We have a motion to approve Resolution 3210. If no one else has something new, I would ask for a roll call vote.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby. Hayden.
No.
Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
The ayes have it. I would vote, yeah, it's 9. We don't need me. Don't need my vote. So the ayes have that. We move on to, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only ordinances 7840, 7841, and 7842. Motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Kinsella. Do I hear questions on these three ordinances? It's much the same. Mr. Narber, you want to give us quickly, while you're here, your expertise on what's spelled out differently, or what, you know, the purpose of these?
The purposes of two ordinances are, in fact, to establish the special tax allocation fund for the TIF and the business district fund for the business district. The other ordinance addresses a statutory requirement to establish an interested parties registry so that any organization that is active in the city or any resident may sign up with the city to receive various notifications pertaining to public hearings, public meetings if necessary, and other activities that the TIF and the Joint Review Board may take, and those are spelled out in the statute.
And these have all been used in all the other TIF creations?
These have been used in all the other, in particular, the single purpose or unified development TIFs that the city has created in recent memory, yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion now to approve ordinance, or read by title only. So all in favor of reading by title only, 7840, 7841, and 7842, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Is there any objection if he reads them as a group, because it's all? Read them. Okay.
15A, ordinance number 7840, an ordinance establishing a special tax allocation fund for the area subject to resolution 3210. 15B, ordinance number 7841, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of the proposed tax increment financing district, interested parties registries, and adopting registration rules for such registry. 15C, ordinance number 7842, an ordinance establishing a business district tax allocation fund for the area subject to resolution number 3210.
Motion to approve ordinance 7840, 7841, and 7842. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Kinsella. Any discussion, different, new, additional to these questions? Roll call.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
No.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
The chair would vote aye, but I believe we had more than enough. Motion carries. Motions carry. Unfinished business? Yes, sir.
Quick question, John. Question came to me on, again, on these city council meetings, and are we ever going to be able to get them, I know they're rebroadcast on Charter, are we ever going to get them to where they could actually watch it live tonight if they couldn't be here?
I think until Lindenwood would get a greater staff is what my understanding is, and I know Mary had to leave, and Sharon's not still here, but at the moment, and Rich, at this point in time, it's not gonna happen until they would have a crew that would be out there every night at this time. Their program is growing, but it's not there yet that they would have that kind of numbers of students out there to take this on to make it live. But it's on the next day, I believe. Well, this one will be on tomorrow, Wednesday, I believe. It's on the website the next day. Yeah, so there's scheduled times. On the channel is 989, I believe it is.
Another question on it. Are all these meetings then archived onto YouTube, or where do they go
Yes.
to find old meetings?
You can go to YouTube. Rich has got them all archived.
But is there a link from the website
Yes.
to get you to the YouTube?
There's a link from our Belleville website to the archives of that information.
Maybe I didn't understand their question right, because they said they were looking for a meeting that they couldn't find, and,
Well, if you have some problem, I would call and talk to Sharon or to Rich, and
Okay.
they'll both help them.
all right, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else under old business, I'd ask for a motion under new business to pay the motor fuel claims in the amount of $15,447.08.
So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Hayden. Any discussion on motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Schneider.
Motion carries. We do have Mr. Thompson here tonight, so if there's nothing else at this point, I would ask for a motion to go into executive session. We do have a workman's comp case to discuss. Is there any motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Meyer? Any discussion further? All in favor of going into the executive session? Do you have anything else? And pending litigation and in a workman's comp case, those two items. If there's nothing else, all in favor of that signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be in here for a few moments in executive session.
It's like wax.
Okay, we're back in open session, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Meyer. I'll work my way. Normally Alderman Gliddy gets that. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. I didn't